cannot move the population of half the planet to the other half of the planet. I mean, that logistically isn't simple. It can't be done. So then Enda was on the case, and Enda said, we're absolutely committed to taking, we were, 4,000 was our figure, if you remember. And Enda said, we're absolutely committed to taking 4,000. We're just not yet. We're very busy, and we actually haven't got time. Right? So then, there was a very interesting story in the last year or so, and all these poor misfortunate people in leaky boats are picked up by the naval service. I'm not sure if it's the Irish or otherwise, but they're now in the Mediterranean. They're trying to land them in Italy. Italy said get lost. They're trying to land them somewhere else, get lost. So now they appeal to the generous countries of the West. Listen, can people please take these people? Ireland held its hand up, fair dues, and we said, we're in, we'll take 20. And not only will we take 20, but we want it subtracted off the 4,000. So we're only taking 3,980 next time round. So there is no discussion about immigration in this country. There is no discussion, pro or con. Because one half, the half that believes there should be immigration control, can't speak because otherwise you risk racist, so you can't speak, you're going to be shut down. And the other half are saying, of course we're going to do it, but not just yet. But just not yet. Like the only reason people go to Ruski or to Letterkenny or wherever the heck it is because there's an empty hotel. These people, misfortunate people, are not sent where there are doctors, dentists, schools. They're just sent where there's an empty hotel. Now, there might be an empty hotel in a place where there are no doctors, dentists, or space in schools or whatever. So to pretend that we have an immigration policy is just horse manure. You know, so like, I don't know. The only thing that I believe passionately is, it's quite interesting because I'm a sports person. We reached the final, I think it was the European under-18s girls 4x100 metre relay, and there were 4 girls, none of them Irish, none of them white. So like, one of the great advantages which America benefited from, immigration is good, in principle, immigration is good. The Irish rugby team would probably be much better if half of them are, you know, non-Irish. Because we're small people, and you know, if we start getting big people in, it might make a difference to the rugby team. But the point is, we have to have a policy. We don't have a policy. Those who ask for a policy, who dare question the current policy, are racists, and I abhor that. That gentleman.
Yeah, we were speaking about media bias and censorship. What can we do as ordinary people? Look at the television, the radio, the newspapers, even local media. What can we do as ordinary people to try to get what's really happening?
Not a lot. The Peter Casey interview RTE got 500 complaints. Now that's enormous, right? Because I'm sure all of you have watched television and been really upset and excited, but you didn't pick up the phone to ring RTE or write a letter or whatever. I would say you could multiply that 500 by 10 or 20 of the number of people who are incensed about it, right? So therefore, that means nothing, because RTE will pay no attention. Every one of those complaints was binned. They got a Cara letter back, but that was all. But you're doing something about it. You're here today. And I hesitate about using old-fashioned phrases, but this phrase of from small acorns, great oak trees grow. Like there's 60, 70, whatever there is in the room today. You've got to work to assume, in order to get your views across, it's got to be 5 times that number, 10 times that number. And what you've got to do is present a cogent argument that people want to buy into. And that's all you can do, because as an individual, you are utterly powerless.
That's not correct, George. You've got to stop paying the television license. That's the first thing.
I don't believe the answer to a problem is being illegal. I don't believe that. Never.
I have
Don't look at
a
it.
gentleman here has had his hand up. For
Yeah.
My hand was getting sore. Thanks very much. That was really fascinating. You're far better in person than you are on radio.
even better.
Similar to that man's question, I suppose, I have a pastor friend in Spain. He's just been taken off Twitter for saying that Jesus wasn't gay. Or not Twitter, sorry. It's ridiculous. From Facebook. And like you said, what can the ordinary people do? What do you think should be the plan of action? Like, what do you think should be, ultimately these guys in Twitter, Facebook, these media platforms are only, they are leaning in one direction.
Well,
Is there,
yeah, Zuckerberg said last week in Dublin that he felt they could influence the election, but they couldn't do anything about it, like tough luck, but we will influence the election. So it is going to be influenced in that way. But Chomsky, again, a philosopher, was really interesting. He said that Holocaust denial is, in most countries in Western Europe, is a crime. France in particular, for instance. Whereas it's not a crime in America. And he makes the point that these various Holocaust deniers in America, nobody listens to them on Facebook. It doesn't get any ventilation. It doesn't appear on newspapers or anything. So nobody gives a hoot. Whereas over here, as in Western Europe, it gets a whole load of oxygen because it's... my view is anything goes. I'm fine with Jesus is gay. I'm fine with that. As long as you're saying it. I'm not saying it. So I don't believe that. You know what I mean? Well, I'm entitled to my view and you're entitled to yours. Yes?
Well, talk about fake news, but the fake news will always exist. You mentioned this as well, propaganda, rebels. The difference now, though, is fake news is just instant. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, the big problem for newspapers, the Irish Times now on a Monday, as near as damn it, doesn't sell any papers. As near as damn it, it probably sells 30,000, but I mean by standards. And Saturday really is the only day where the Irish Times sells in real numbers, okay? But that applies to all newspapers. The Daily Mirror or whatever, it applies to all newspapers. It applies to radio listenership. It applies, think about how many films you watched on Netflix in the last week and how many you actually watched live on your television for which you are paying this gentleman's license fee, okay? So, the thing is, what we now have is we have a generation which wants it instantly. And therefore that means that argument that normally was the place of newspapers, particularly, and radio current affairs, are going to become less and less important. Podcasting, why would I tune in to Pat Kenny at 10 o'clock in the morning, which doesn't suit me, when I can get Pat at 8 o'clock tonight over my dinner in the shape of a podcast? So, and then I can skip half of what he says if I don't want to listen to it, just to listen to the bit. I'm a child of my age, and there was a program on BBC Radio, it was then called Light Programme, presented by a great Irishman called Eamon Andrews, and it was called Sports Report. Right? And Eamon would come on and he'd say, Sports Report, and he'd go, and then he'd say, welcome to Sports Report. But first, the soccer results with James Alexander Gordon. Arsenal 1, Aston Villa 2, Leicester 0, Burnley 0. That was the first time I knew the soccer results. That was the first time, 5 o'clock, and that's why I tuned in. Now, if Arsenal get a goal, I have it instantly on my telephone. So, what's the point of having a radio program giving out the soccer results at 5 o'clock? But that applies to all aspects of our life. But it doesn't mean that instant fake is any better or any worse than considered fake. What you have now is you have something like journal.ie or whatever, which you can get in your telephone. They're no different from any other media organisation.
Just a comment. Surely YouTube is the biggest, most exciting concept in media coverage now, because you can make your own programs. So that's breaking the deadlock of the tyranny.
Yeah, I'm not sure, about YouTube. I'm only not sure because I don't really watch it that much, to be honest. But you've got to take